morning, everyone. It's almost time here. What is it? What do we got? 7:58. We'll get started in just a second. Let's see, we've got Jesse. Got my checklist. Hey, Joe. Got a couple of my validators here, right? We've got
Morning.
good morning.
Good morning, Coach T.
Hey,
This is Esther Dick.
Dion. Hi,
This is
Esther.
Esther Dixon.
Hi, Esther. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Can you hear me
You're
okay?
very well.
Oh, good. Okay.
Mhm.
And can you see the screen okay? I'm sharing the
Very well.
screen. Oh, good,
Yes.
good. All right.
Hi, Professor. This is
Um,
Ashley.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you for
I just wanted
joining.
thank you. I just wanted to check. This says it's being recorded. So will this be posted in Halo where we can go back and view it?
Yes, the
Okay.
and that's I usually start with speak now or forever hold your peace. We're being recorded because the everyone gets an extra 20 points in the bank for attending. They say it's mandatory, but that's whoever they are, faculty development. But if someone is just direly, on active duty service, has children, has a job, and can't join, then we do record it. But also there are some things. That's a good question. It will be. I posted on our regular channel that you're seeing here, Model Sim Professor, and then you'll be able to study some of these things, graphics that show how people are doing here. Each team is doing, and that's a really good question because what happens is there's going to be a recap for every decision you make of all 5 decisions, and that'll be on this channel, on Model Sim Professor channel, or on the channel of the actual provider, Mega Learning, but you'll be able to take screenshots of the graphics and of the financials, and that makes this course so much easier. Because if you when you start out, people look at the class and they go, "Oh my goodness, all these required readings. This is too much videos." And we got well, it's really not. And then they say, "Well, teams too." It's just complicated, but it's really much simpler than it looks. For instance, we have a lot of things that are usually required, and you'll see it in the syllabus, but they're not mandatory. For instance, you'll see long papers, 1,200 words, 1,300 words, APA 7 citations, da 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 da. You don't have to do that. If you want to do some citations, fine, but it's better just to work with your team, take the graphics that I give you after every recap, return those graphics and make comments on them. And if you want to cite somebody, cite your teammates, cite yourself, talk about your own career, your job, what you're doing, and how it might apply to it. This is a really different course than you ever have or probably ever will take, because it's based on a real world simulation at Harvard that is taken by thousands and thousands of executives every year. It supercharges their careers, it boosts their opportunities. I've been a CEO of several companies, one bigger than JCU, a multi-billion dollar company. And my career got started, centuries ago when computers ran on kerosene. As you can see, I'm old, but it really supercharged even back then, because then you're networking and you've taken it. And sometimes I've even had people that ask for references and letters and stuff after the course, and they meet a recruiter who says, "Oh, I took that," So it's so ubiquitous all over, and some CEOs and other job CFOs that come up are required to take it now. Now there are over 300 sims at Harvard, and some of them are on ethics, etc. This one is on what your course is, strategy. So you'll find it's got there's a lot of really valuable things that you go through that are real world that you can apply. And the funnel of the course is it starts out with the decisions in the sims, and as it gets towards the end, you'll see that it switches to your career. So even though you're beginning with how do you run this business, work together as a team, etc., you're going to find that it rapidly moves towards how is this going to help your career? What can it do, for your CV? And then how can you apply what's happening? Um, I'm known as an easy grader, which is that's because I'm more of a tutor than a teacher. I teach several hundred students in classes at several universities, but I have over 1,000 hours a year in tutoring. I really love tutoring. It's I'm working on my third doctorate, so I'm a student too. I go through this stuff that everyone does through of trying to time manage and balance all the balls in the air, what have you. So understand exactly what you're going through. But I really want you all to understand that I am here for you. This is not like the normal async class you've taken before. Number one, some invisible professor that throws some kind of stock answers out in Halo. You look at what happened and then you get a grade. It's like I am completely here for you. You have my text. I prefer texts and messaging over my email. My faculty email is like I've got all kinds of business stuff they're talking about there, and you have my text directly. Call me, text me. My validators, I'm on the phone with almost all the time during the sims. Now, the just to give you an overview, what is the sim? The I guess there's several really fast ways to learn what it is and take a look at it. These resources, if you look at, I've got several sites I've set up for all of you. Um, and, again, text me about it. This is Sim Texts. And I've set up text groups for all of you, but these are all managed by you. This class is managed by you. You are mature business running adults and everyone says, what's the org chart? How should I organize my team? You guys decide that on your team. You people get together and say, okay, these are the car lines I'm going to take. You do this, you do that. And it sounds like, if you've ever taken a CLC before, I have many times. And I got to tell you my personality back all the way back to undergrad or whatever. When I'd be in a class, I'd be working on it, and the professor would say, "Okay, now we're going to break into teams." I'd go, "Oh no, I'm kind of introverted. I don't want to be on some team. Let me just do the work." And so I'm not really a kind of team study educator kind of person. In business, that's the way it works. You're either on a team and your team's doing great, or your company fails and you fail. So it's the reality of business today. So as much as we say, and why do people not want it? Well, I hear all the time, and I have it myself in my own courses at Purdue, where I'm getting my doctorate right now, and I got my doctorate of BA business administration through Grand Canyon. So I'm not like leaving GCU for Purdue, but that's just where this particular program is. But when I have to break into teams there, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to do, three-quarters of the work if I have to. I'm not going to let it drop. And that I hear that all the time, all through our undergrad experience. And this is our capstone course where I hear, I did all the work in this. It doesn't work that way at all. This is the kind of this isn't the CLC where you jump in, you do a couple chats, and that's it. You have a minimum of 5 actual Zooms where you set them up. You decide are you on Discord or FaceTime or Zoom. That's up to you. When you meet is up to you. And you'll see in these texts, this is a lot of these texts are you as you get into the sim are cheats and hints and tips that I give to the validator. Or if you call me, I'll give them to you. If you text me, I'll give them to you. Everyone's starting this class with an A. And if anyone in this class gets a B, half of that is on you, and more than half, or half at least, is on me because I'm here to support you. And if you're having trouble with anything, can't understand it, let's just talk. Also, remember on the papers and all the deliverables, make the sim the center of it, and this class will be a breeze for you. If you attend your Zoom meeting, though, one a week for the 5 weeks of the decisions, or you do a lot of texting, you just got to be tight as a team. And the way you organize, I'm not going to tell you your org chart, but there are 4 car lines you have to make decisions on. I'll show you that in a second. But you'll see all these things. What are the competitors' strengths and weaknesses? This is real strategy that either works or doesn't in terms of as you're on the sim making the decisions, you'll see the results and say, what happened there? You look at the economics, translate that to the financials, translate that to the accounting, and say, wow, here's the metrics, here's what's going on. And no matter what you're going into, whether it's marketing or I have classes because this is remote. I have many extremely intelligent adult learners in these sims. I have CFOs. I had a CFO of a whole county in Florida. I've had CEOs in the class. I've got people that, because this is for MBA also, as well as undergrad, and it's also capstone for both. So it's really, it starts out overwhelming. And usually what happens, since it's coming up to Christmas, I had a problem with this onboard because I usually have the validator from a past team come in here and give a little intro for you. And they say the same thing every time, which is, I was so overwhelmed. I even thought of dropping the class. It was way too much to do. I'm raising children. I'm active duty military. I've got a job. And, to have to work with a team, work on a team and all that. Well, they said by the time we got to the decision four, Coach T, Grandpa Tommy, Professor Tom did not lie. We were dividing the work up. He was giving us all the graphics. You take this, you take that, you take that, and boom, you have it. So it's the teams. And, I want to stay positive, but on the negative side, don't skip team meetings or don't skip out of your team and don't not do teams. Number one, on all the benchmarks where it says you got to do this whole thing and it's a benchmark, which means you do have to turn it in individually. We allow you to do it as a team, each take a little piece of it and then all turn the same thing in. So even if it doesn't say CLC, you can do that with the deliverables. This is a business communication course. When I ask for a deliverable like a PowerPoint presentation or something like that, this isn't like something you've said before. Okay, I've got 1,800 words and 20 citations. They're all API. I want a 5-slide, 5-minute presentation like you'd give to your board. Fast, easy, quick, summarizing, and honest. And even the final presentations, they look really complicated and heavy, but there's all kinds of exemptions for this course. Participation, yeah, you have to. Some of the things are auto graded, so I can't give you the credit for the sim that's on that discussion question. So you have to post that, but you can make it about the sim. You don't have to, come up with some phony answer to a student just to say, okay, I posted. You can just post anything you want about the sim and your team and all that stuff. Of course, you don't want to, you don't want to post your strategy and tell the other teams, oh, we did this and this worked out great because you're competing with the three. So it's co-opetition, it's genial. We're not cutthroat. But in the ground schools, it gets a little nasty. They have little tents and they go in the tents with their teams. They stay after talking. And how can we destroy yellow team? Look, I didn't like that they did that. They'll even give a presentation of their strategy on the blackboard and lie about it. This is a Christian school. We're not supposed to be lying, but they're trying to, send false signals and all this stuff. We don't do that here. I mean, we're all adults. We're having fun here. But we do, it is very competitive. It gets very competitive, as you'll see in these texts. Now, if you look at the very bottom of this site, which is simtexts.com, you'll see there are 3 resources here. We've got the Paul Waterman, our course lead, and I have done a ton of videos, which is what was showing on the screen previously. We've got the mega learning videos. You click on any one of these and you'll get taken to those sites. And then we've got Viz 485, which are all your cheat sites. So you got all 3 buttons to get there. It's also the same thing as in Halo. If we go on Halo, you go down to class resources down here. Where are class resources? Okay, we're on class resources. And to get, just like when you registered, you go hit class resource, number 1 here, Mega Learning Sim, view resource. In CSLC, when it says decision 1, decision 2, decision 1 is from week 3, decision 5 is in week 7. You have 5 decisions, 1 each week. Each of the decisions lasts a year. Right now, you're inheriting a business that I've already run 4 sims on. You've got 4 years of history because you're picking up a distressed turnaround. So you're going to see that there's some major problems when you start out with, even as you assign your car lines. And if I can't show you in this 45 minutes hour all 4 car lines and what you have to do with each to win, because there's so much, it's 4 factorial. It'd be 24 videos we need, and there are that many. But you can look down here and see the different deliverables here, and then you can also look on the right side of our normal right side of Halo under resources, where we have that in one of the topics. You'll be able to see other resources like the annexes. And the basic cycle that you do is every week when a decision starts. Now, next week, you actually have to turn in a form, which is our agreement form here. And you meet as a team to do that, or you text as a team to do that, or, however you want to do it to get together or text each other, that's fine. The validator can turn one form in and they all say, we're married, we're married, we're married, or I agree, agree. You don't have to post this on CLC yourself, you want to just do one agreement form says, and all it is, this is, yeah, I'll participate in the sim, and I'll do what it takes. Why would someone ask, is this some legal assessment accreditation thing? No, all it is to teach you how to use a CLC. It's that simple. It's like jump into the CLC. You'll see their chats in there, but that's all you do there. This is not a meeting place. You can chat if you want, but it's better to text. And the action when it says make a decision isn't on CLC or in Halo. It's here. Use resources. When you click on view resource, it takes you to bang. That's what you see when you say do. Now it won't do that now because I just finished provisioning the teams because we had some people that were, oops, I have someone who joined late here. I'm so sorry. Somebody joined late and we're kind of run along here. But anyway, this is what happens when you click on view resource. You're taken to your team's dashboard, and the dashboard to start with, you just have to learn the user interface, and all the videos you can watch, I've got one video that's called 100 slides in 20 minutes. It shows the answer to lots of these questions, but you'll see that there are 6 things up here. I have my ROCE hat on, ROCE, return on capital employed. That's a big thing to me because the EBIT ties to that, and it's a real key to winning the sim. And I should say, by the way, if you blow the sim horribly, you're last place every time, you can't turn it around, and you just completely crash and burn, you can still get an A in the class. You'll lose points because you don't get as many as the winning teams do, but I would never lose you enough points that performance is gonna kill you on your grade because it's impossible. Every sim start, nobody can game it. Even the instructors we compete in, we have winners and losers, maybe just at 1 point apart, but it's you cannot game it with all the metrics in the world, all the economics, all the decisions. You're still going to have a hard time because it's like real business. It's very difficult. These are the 6 indicators: emissions, revenue, ROCE, retained earnings, morale, and share value. And you'll find in the strategy guide and in the videos how those all relate to the customers, what their wants and needs are, the value chain, and the decisions that you make. And that's all on this interface. These are some of your decisions you've already made. I'm just teasing. This is a previous universe, but there are 4 decisions that have been made, which I'll show you in a second, already for you and what you've inherited in terms of ROCE and financials. You will have those financials not only in this video, but also I will post it on announcements. If you make one note of this whole onboarding, write the word announcements down there, because a lot of us go through these async classes online remote, and we look at announcements before each, whatever it's called, topic, Canvas, it's called unit, different LMSs have different names for it, but whatever that week is, you look at the announcements, oh, what's coming up this week? That is not how this is. I have announcements all the time with tips and cheats and hints and answers to questions I get on the text. The reason it's important is because, for fairness, let's say you have someone that's not shy of the professor, which is silly for anyone to be. But if somebody is and they say, I don't want to talk to this guy, this old fart, I don't care. Or you might say, no, I don't want to, I don't want to talk to this person. And that's not how this works. I want to just do my work. It's like, if I have another person who's really gregarious and happy and loves talking about the sim or whatever, and I'm sitting there giving all kinds of tips to this person, that's patently unfair just because someone else is a little more shy. So you'll see in announcements I'm going to be putting, and some text, but mostly announcements, any major hints or cheats. And you have a student cheat sheet, by the way, that you can see in the strategy guide. And it's got all these cheats. So I'm not being like immoral by saying cheat. You have to cheat. You have to learn shortcuts really quickly, because in 5 weeks, each sim lasts a year. So that's 5 years of business. You've inherited 4 years in the sim. So there's a lot to do and to try to learn and understand. But the reason you can get an A and still crash and burn, because the presentations you give and the feedback you give are all about course corrections. It's like, I mean, look at this. Look what happened to red in this, in emissions alone. Red started and crashed and burned in this universe. It was one of the worst performances I've ever seen because they did exactly what I told them not to do, which is don't make big corrections. As you're going through your different decisions here, up on top up here, as you go your dashboard, your company decisions, decisions of each car line and that. And if somebody's priced at 140 bucks or 140 euros, $140,000, whatever, they're just neutral units. If it's priced at 140, don't price it at 150. Price it at 141 if you want to make some more money and lose some more business with supply and demand. If you want to buy some HR so you have some more happy employees. I had one team that, it was like they were spending 40 units or 40 bucks on morale and they changed, they put it up to 500. Well, their entire sim crashed and burned. It was too much money. Also, you cannot validate unless you have positive cash flow. So look at your cash. You have to iterate as you go through this. And basically the way it works is you've got a dashboard, that's this. Looking at this stuff, how did we do on emissions? That's just one indicator of the six. These are the six things you're trying to hit. And you'll see feedback on that every time. You'll get a recap after every sim. Now I mean, how long? Years and years we've been doing this. You can go on the professor team and look at some previous recaps right now just to see what happened before and watch 10 minutes of it. You can skim down that. You can look at the Biz 485 site. But when you're actually making the decisions and you're here, you'll find that the most important thing on this site is the indices. You can see all the ranks, who's where, what are they doing, are they up or down, all the, this is just one indicator of emissions. And this is important, however, because you'll see the gas price image index is I got ahead of myself with the word image, is $3. This might start in your sim at $1.80 or $2, okay, or euros or whatever I want to say. If this starts to climb up, the image line, which is a gas guzzler, starts to lose some sales and it has to be more higher priced. Image is like the Ferrari, okay? Let's jump into the lines here. Now you're going to use this dashboard a lot. The way you should meet is each member of each team, one of each of the four of you can take a car line. One can take, low cost, one can take family, one can take eco, and one can take image. But you'll see that initially it's a portfolio strategy. So as you're making decisions, and we'll jump to show you what a decision is, there are corporate and business lines decisions. Let's jump to business line decisions first. This is all decisions are. Decisions are sliders. And you could have a Zoom for a half hour. Each of you do the car line, say, this is what I'd like to do in my things, and then move the sliders for engineering, move the sliders for marketing, and you're done with the decision parts of this. However, there are decisions for each line. There's low cost, there's family, there's eco, and there's image. So each one of you will work on that during the week and say, gosh, where do I want these to be? And it doesn't take, all you're doing here is you're matching what do the customers want and what am I doing in these different characteristics. So as you design your vehicle, in this case, what is this low cost? Your low cost vehicle, you'll find that, and these for you, these will all be down the center exactly, completely centered right down the middle, like all fives or something. So, and you're all the same. Everybody's starting on the same playing field, but not with the same financials because you'll see that you're all handicapped by the previous people that blew this company and you're taking over and turning it around. As you move these sliders, you'll see that this white market line is how you save yourself. If you don't have a clue, and the process is each of you kind of figures this out. You get a Zoom meeting, you all talk together, and then you view corporate and you say, all right, here's where we want the sliders to be, and here's how much money we want to spend. Boom, you got it done 10, 15 minutes. Oh, no, you don't, because you got to jump to corporate and say, what did you do to the overall? And what about budget? What did we do with our budget? How did that affect our budget? What about the value chain in terms of our market share and all that? So you've got a ton of metrics. You don't have to use them all, but you can make the ROI for this course is you get out of it what you put into it. So you can easily pass it if you just want to pass it. But if you want to have more fun and really get into it, get into the metrics. If you're into marketing, really be the marketing person here and do a lot of marketing down here. If you're a CFO and you want to do budgets all day long, no problem. You can do, there's tons of feedback. And at every recap, I will give you, every instructor in different courses does it different way. We only have 5 weeks and 5 meetings, so you got to get a lot done with short time and not a lot of meetings. So I give all, and then you have to show results and course corrections and what happened and explain what did you do to adjust. And that's all it is. It's like we got a little better here, we got a little worse there, and that's the ending of the class. And then you tie it back to your career and kind of what did I learn about SWOT and SMART and other goals and the strategies and how did that work? So those things you need a lot of graphics, and I do them all for you. You don't have to be sitting there doing Excel sheets and figuring them out and crunching the numbers. You get all these at the end of you make your first decision. Obviously, you don't know what are the competitors are going to do. What do the customers want other than reading the cheat sheets and finding out about customers, which you have to do, or watching the videos. Binge watch the videos, take an afternoon that you're going to watch a movie and just binge watch these videos and you'll have this thing nailed because you got all the previous recaps and you'll see what's going to happen, especially on Professor Tommy, but you can also see the one over the Mega Sim one, that second link I showed you. But anyway, if you are crashing and burning, the white market line shows you what the customers want. And this is not a time series. These are these characteristics just shown across here, but they do have motion to them. I suggest each of you take a picture of this and see what happened last time, what happens, and then you have a three-dimensional time series of what's happening. But you'll kind of see if we look at the different teams and how they did against these different indicators in engineering marketing, you'll say, wow, this is remarkably, well, yeah, this is out to the 5th decision. They've had plenty of time, but you'll see, for instance, in low cost here, you'll see it's not up or down, it's how close are these gaps. And you'll see that consumption is a problem for this team, even though they were #1 team. They are spending a lot less on consumption than what the consumers wanted. So consumption sounds like, if I go this real high on this consumption thing, if I go way up here, it sounds like, whoa, look at that. Look, it went up. Oh, let's go further. Let's go a little further. Watch the line. Oh man, look at that. I'm above. I'm spending more on consumption than I had to. Well, this is after the fact. You're not going to have that. It's not going to be that easy, but you can do it from period to period. But consumption is one of the hardest things to do because the more consumption you pay for, the higher the CapEx goes for, and the better your fuel mileage is. So in eco, that'd be a very good thing to have. But if you go from 5 to, I guarantee, if you go 5 to 6 or 7 on this, your CapEx will change to the point that you crash and burn. You'll lose so much money because obviously CapEx, your capital investment, comes from what you spend on engineering marketing, and so does your revenue. So it's a trade-off. All these things show you the trade-offs you get with missed opportunities and opportunity costs. Same thing, let's say, okay, low cost car dealership proximity. It's not too bad of a match. They spent a little more on each of those things, but you have to learn the details of what the customers want. For instance, in low cost and especially in family, let's jump up to family because this is a good example of this. If we're in family, now we're looking at, wow, what happened in family here? Obviously, they de-featured family, and Red didn't do too well in family because they're so far and all the features here. They didn't want to spend, and they didn't have the money to spend, so they should have been doing a little more on each of these. But let's look at car dealership proximity. Oh my goodness, great match, but look at how high this is. This is like a 9. How would I know that people in image couldn't care less about this? At a 9, almost as much as you can do. Now we go to image. Let's look at car dealership proximity of the winning team. And, oh, they just left it flat. I took a bad example. but actually that didn't hurt them because they did pretty well because it's a cash cow and they matched those fairly well. But Image doesn't need it. It's wasting your money in terms of dealership. Now it's the least. Oh well, yeah, it's at 5 instead of 9. So they did, and 9 and 5 is a big difference. If you want to make a change, I used to be a flight instructor. I taught folks how to fly helicopters. The main thing everybody did is they over controlled. Wow, they're moving the stick around, the thing's flying around, they're crashing and burning. You got to make little tiny micro moves, little corrections. In this case, it's like, well, I'm putting that at 9 for each dealership and family and 5 here. That's a big change. I don't mean don't make a difference between the car lines. I mean, don't go from a 5 to a 9 here. That your CapEx will kill you. But people who are buying a Ferrari don't mind driving to LA to buy it. It's because you don't have a Ferrari dealership on every block. You might have a Subaru dealer on every block. You have more or the little car dealerships in every town that are kind of grouped together. But so these are very real world based as you make these decisions with the sliders, etc. So now in addition to making those sliders for each line, you each decide what you want to do on it. And the first decision you make is ready, fire, aim. It's not going to be ready, aim, fire because you don't have enough data. You can look at the previous things I showed you, look at the previous recaps, look at the other onboardings as well as this one, and get a good idea of what works. The strategy guide is all about this. Your first annex you turn in week 3 isn't the decision. You have to do all this, make the decision, and validate because it's a relay race and you got 90 points for that. Sometimes it'll say decision 0 points, sometimes it's 90, what have you. It's always like 50, 60 points. But you'll always get close to that because you'll be fitting to the white line and you'll be learning as you do it. And then it becomes, by the last decisions, ready, aim, fire. And you may say, we're going back out of low cost and eco because they don't grow until the last things. Don't put a lot of money into low cost and eco to begin with because they are, you got your stars, your dogs, your question marks, and your kind of cash cows. And each one of these are one of those. So Image is absolutely cash cow, so is family. You want to really invest in them and you get a lot of return on them. You can build a flywheel and just take it over. Have high, strong ROSE, etc. Be careful, low cost and eco. Don't invest a lot. In fact, some teams you can defeature. Now we have a merger and acquisition, but it's not within the sim. We don't buy. Red team doesn't buy yellow team here. They do that actually in the 10-week course and 15 weeks in the ground schools where they actually do a merger, sell a plant. You can sell one of your plants. You can't sell it, but you can defeature it. If you're dying in one of these lines, you can actually just pay the depreciation and back off on supply and demand, lost orders over inventory. So now that you've looked at this and made these decisions, you have to also make decisions in budget. I've had some early teams that forgot to price their car. They had this at 0. Now all these are mature, this is the last decision kind of stuff. But if you price this at 0, you'll have a huge bunch of costs for supply and no demand and no revenue, and you'll have the red bar will be all the way down at the bottom of the page because you didn't price it. So in terms of you'll be doing forecasts, looking at the value proposition, and then filling in the boxes here for each line on the budget. So, and the value chain again just shows you kind of what happens to CapEx. Let's just say consumption. I mentioned consumption. You got to be careful with investment. Let's make that. All right, let's go real high on that. Let's go real high on this. Let's real high on this. So this is a sim within a sim. You can actually model what happens when you do it, and you're using the power of simulation on this. By the way, also I teach ML, I teach AI, so I'm really into AI. I wish I could tell you go and get all the AI and work as much as you can to do these decisions. The truth is AI, Grok, Chat GPT, Gemini, Claude, all of them defer to Paul and I. They take their data from the videos from us because there's not much out there on how to beat the sim. And our videos can't tell you how to beat it anyway because no one can beat the sim. So, but use it for your papers, use it for presentations. There's no problem. Also, there's no similarity problems in this course. And you don't have to have thousands of words in APA 7. If you quote each other and you all turn in the same presentation, that's fine. You might have a 90% similarity. Now, some of them in a CLC, the validator can just turn in one thing you all work on, drop it in the CLC, like the annex. That's fine. But if it's benchmarked, you each have to turn it in, but you can each turn in the same presentation, which means you'll blow, the AI, it'll say, oh, similarity, whatever. You got to pass on that here because you're supposed to work as a team. So there's a lot of things we try to do here to make it easier for you because you're working hard on the sim. Now that we looked at, there's only one more thing that you really have to look at is corporate. I mean, you can look at all your markets and all the indicators and that and on the other side. And I'll be sending you those in the recap. But this is very important too because you've got to fill in the boxes here in terms of your facility investment. And you'll see in this, it's all supply and demand. If you drive a lot of marketing, but you don't make enough cars, then you'll have a huge amount of orders and no sales. And sales in American accounting is deliveries. So just if you see sales, think deliveries. So if you got a ton of orders from good marketing, but you can't deliver them, your morale will drop down because the people will be mad, the dealerships, because I couldn't get the car I ordered, I have to wait a week for it. You're not making it. And also your morale will drop down and you'll be losing a ton of money because you'll have all those sales that are lost, and that gap between supply and demand will be absolutely problematic. So on this Biz 485 site, this is just, showing these are kind of how did each team do? This is look at what did they do on low cost. You'll get one of these reports, whichever recap, and you have one now actually when you get into the sim, which is on the past thing you've inherited, which I'll show you in a second. Or I got to move on. I don't want to keep anybody too long here, but this site is really important for seeing what is it all about in terms of cheats and tips. And let's see, what do we got? Oh, these are links. These are recaps, how to ace the class. All right, ace the sim in the class. This is a ton of different kinds of slides from the 100 slides that show you what you need to do in terms of where are your cheats and tips. This is Halo, and it's showing you that you have got resources down here, but on the right side, you also have resources on Halo. That's where you'll find your annexes and your other things in your reading. The strategy guide has all this stuff too. You can see here that these are the decisions where you have the different kinds of car lines and you have to make different decisions based on what the customers want in those lines. That's in the strategy guide. This is probably, I thought of it when I showed you that thing on the budget. How do you do facility investment? This drives people crazy. Even if you're a total math nerd like me and you're into metrics, it's really easy, but it's confusing because you have to look at the previous forecast, see what is the difference between the capex and what you made and what you think you're going to make. And then you have to have a little algebraic formula, which is just four function math of multiplying your capex unit times your forecast and then adding back depreciation. And that's how you figure out how much should I invest in my facility. And that'll get your white line. But the lost orders over inventory, let's see if I have that here. Where are we? Whoops. Okay, let's go to, all right, where am I going to find this? Let's go to back team. Let's go to faculty report. Let's go to universe charts. Faculty report you're going to get, I'll show you for your team, but this will show you how did you all do in terms of EBIT and what drove it financially. And you'll get that every time. But let's go to LOI here. Let's go to the business lines and let's find lost orders over inventory. This you're going to find is like the absolute cat's meow. All right, this is the most important chart you'll get. You don't have it to start with because it's ready, fire, aim for the first decision, but you'll see 0 line is right here, okay? Look at ROCE, revenue, your financials, everything in to simplify it out, this one indicator LOI is going to be your golden egg for building a fantastic business. Because what it shows you is each team, and I don't know if you know this, but you probably do. If you have a chart that's lost overs divided by inventory and you zero it out and you index it, the index reverses. So it's lost orders over inventory, but you read it differently in the chart. So the higher above zero you are, the higher inventory you're building. You got an inventory problem. The lower you go down here, you're having lost orders. And that's what we just meant, that your supply isn't meeting your demand. So this is your old supply demand equilibrium marginal cost economics, except you don't have to get in and do calculus partial differential equations and figure out what's the marginal cost and what is my optimal price. You're not expected or asked to do that here. Believe me, I do have students here that do that. They do a ton of calculus, they do all this stuff, they build their models, they do the Excel stuff, and they love it. They're having fun with it. But you might have someone that just says, yeah, let's just move it to the white line, and they do better. You cannot beat the sim by being some genius in math. It's not how it works. It's not how it works in the real world. You can just make one mistake on car dealerships and you lose the EBIT there. But this is very important because this is matching supply and demand. When you drive marketing and you don't make enough cars, or if you make a ton of cars, but you don't market enough, you're building inventory. So here you're building too many cars, here you're building too little cars in the supply side. Here you're building too little demand, too much demand. So it's obviously inverse relationships there, as are, supply and demand and the two curves. One is downward sloping to the right, upward sloping, or upward sloping to the right, downward sloping to the right on demand. So this will every time you're trying to get to zero here. And as you get to the end, you'll see, and this isn't too bad. It may be way, way up here, but when you're too high here, you try to de-feature your marketing, etc. So it's a good indicator of what you want to do. Now, the other thing is, don't get freaked out and worried about all the different deliverables here. You'll have a midterm exam, you'll have a CapEx final exam here. All those exams we've made worth like 20 points, 25 points. If you can't study for them anyway. This is supposedly the capstone. I mean, supposedly it is the capstone course after 4 years of study. So if you don't remember Diane, the debits increase assets but not equity. If you don't remember your T accounts or you slept through accounting, you can still do great. You can contribute other things. You may not want to be a CFO. You may want to be really in marketing. You may want to save God's green earth and love eco. But I should show you this if I can find it. I can find this. Let's look at Jade's inheritance here. This is your company. This is what you inherited. And right now, I beg you, I pray, don't drop the class. No, literally, this is a distress class. And we talked to the founders at Harvard and at Renault in France. And by the way, China just did a deal with Renault in terms of distribution, and they ran the sim together. The government of China and Renault actually went through this together. So you're participating in something that executives do. When I was candidate for CEO of a robotics company, they made us go to the American Express CEO competition in Iowa, where there's hundreds of CEOs competing on this sim, and you either get your job, your real life job, or you don't, based on it's like real life dollars, even though these are not real life dollars. But yes, you can see right now that, well, you can't see because you haven't done this, but let's say this is low cost. This is, I'm just guessing, I can't see it. This is family, this is eco, and this is image. Now, this is a little weird. Family is a cash cow, and you're inheriting some really good flywheels in family, but you got to know this going into your first decision. You got to say, if you got your eco manager, someone says, I love the earth, I love God's green earth, I want to have low emissions, I want to manage the eco line, I want us to spend all our money, our whole strategy is going to be on eco. Well, you're going to surprise yourself if you really create a win and you sell billions and trillions of these tiny little not gas consuming vehicles, and the planet's emissions go through the sky because you got so many of them out there that their aggregate emissions are high. So that's how subtle the sim is. You got to be careful of that too on consumption. Obviously, these people like consumption, but look at what it did to their EBIT by having a lot low consumption. I won't show those sliders. We're running out of time, but you do not overinvest in these two lines to start with. A portfolio is a moving dynamic thing. You've got pipeline management and portfolio management. And you've got financial leverage and operating leverage. Your operating leverage is what we talked about with CapEx and facility investment. And they're all the same thing as risk and reward, those curves. You make more and more return the higher and higher risk you give take right up to the point of bankruptcy. And that's how leverage works. Operating leverage is obviously fixed costs versus variable costs. So if you've got your fixed and variable costs right, at the margin, you don't have to start firing employees because your fixed costs were too high. But if they are too high, it's above break even, you're printing money in the basement. Below break even, you're sucking only air and no fuel through your carburetor. And you're going to crash and burn really quickly. So that's the point of leverage. There's a certain equilibrium point where the demand crosses supply and operating leverage, and if you don't go above it, if you go below it, you're going to lose a lot of money fast. If you go above it, you're going to make a lot of money fast. So you learn this in spades in this class doing the sim, but in ways none of us ever thought about. In every sim, I learned a ton because all the gears turn a little differently with every business, and it even turns more dynamically as we go through the different decisions, and the environment changes, your competitors change, and you have to look at their numbers. I've made this, and most of the professors do, Paul and I do, some don't. We have some mean ones in the ground classes that make you do all the work. They make you even look at the balance sheets and the P&Ls to figure out the inventory of the other companies. That's silly. Why waste your time crunching numbers? Everybody can do accounting and for. We're giving you just the stuff you need to have fun and make decisions and not crunch a bunch of numbers you don't have to. I'll give you those numbers. But you do have to know the inventory, and you can under markets when you're on the sim. Let me get out of this and go back to, we were just doing Halo and other resources, but let's look at this and let's look at markets. Okay, this is just another tab. You can see that here you've got all the different markets and market overviews, but you've also got my competitors. And then when you have different lines like this, you can look at what are happening with your results and your competitors' results and what the customers want. You can go to company here and you can see red team. And if you're really old and blind like me, you may not even see this. And how many decisions are you going to have to make before you see this little white thing down here under red team, which says other teams' financial results? It's like, what? Yeah, this is publicly traded, these companies. You can look at the other team's results. And I'm not telling you to spend, the rest of your life in this class analyzing other teams, but you can get a quick glimpse of where their inventory is going and what they want to do, because you're going to be studying all this competitive strategy and coming up with the different models. And this week, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of different models with your SWOT and your SMART and all that, but you're all going to relate them to the sim. So this seems like a lot of work, but all of a sudden it's really everything you do here is everywhere else. I want to see it on the discussions. I want to see it in your posts. I want to see it in your answers. So you don't have to go do all these readings and study and get studies and cite some person, format it, do an 1800 page. Make a couple sentences on this is what happened. And don't give away your strategy, but say, we found that this is really important. I watched a video. Here's a quick thing I learned out of it. That's one thing for the class. The second thing is use your own experience. You've had many different instructors, and some of them will tell you, we don't care about you. We don't care about your opinion. Life is gone on citations and on true proof and reality, and no one cares what you think. So every sentence you write, I want you to have a citation. I had a law course, corporate law course, in my doctorate. The guy was like that. He was a lawyer and a PhD in something, and he was like, you should not write a sentence that doesn't have a citation after it. You know, if I told you that was my favorite class I ever told, I'd be like the biggest liar I ever took. It was terrible. This is just the opposite. Your experience matters. Talk about your own job. How does it, if you're in accounting, how did this help you learn? Or what did you learn this week different? Or, hey, boy, did we ever blow that? And in the end, honesty is a Christian school. Honesty really matters. And if you really messed up with your presentations at the end, and I'll be posting past presentations too, so you can see who did really well, why did they do it, and you'll see they're so simple. They're like 5 slides with some speaker notes, and it's a lot of the graphics that I've given you through the whole course. So it's not a lot of work, but it's also fun because you divide it up. I have teams going back since Heck was a pup, where people have networked. I mean, I'll give you recommendation letters for your job. I'll be a reference for you at the end of this course. That's one thing. But you are teammates and you're going to be, the teams get to know each other. And this is not like CLC. I have teams that are still years later talking to each other, helping each other with their careers, joking around. I mean, they become friends. And you'll see that that's the way the sim is, that you divide it up. Now, please don't skip meetings. Please do not. There's only one way you can fail this class. That's your other classmates fail you. It's 190, 200, almost 300 points are peer reviews. So, and Paul and I and a couple other instructors have loaded the dice. If you have a great team and you're doing really well and you all believe that, and it's true, the truth matters, we've got it so you can all give maximum points. Just bam, 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 it's done. Easy, just no problem. If you have someone, we need to know about it, who's riding off everybody else, doesn't show up, doesn't contribute anything, we've got to know that. I'm sorry, because the sim is so important. You know, you can sit there and not say a lot in it because you're just not comfortable speaking in a group, but you can't show up and have done nothing on it and just cruise through the class. Because even if I have a loving heart and want to say, do your best, and I understand that I had one person that did this and they weren't there and whatever. I was sending so many, I was almost in tears. And we EM'd them. I finally at the end I said, please withdraw. They didn't withdraw. They had an organ transplant. Yeah. I mean, so don't judge people, if they're not showing up because you don't know. But what we did for the person is we took all the deliverables from the past, everything else in the sim, and said, you can use it. We're going to minus everything else when you retake the class. So it's going to be a breeze for you. So we'll try to be accommodating that way too. So, all right. I think I usually open it up for questions, but there's usually not too many because it's so overwhelming at this point. But again, it's text me, talk to me, call me, message me, whatever you're comfortable with. My validators are my interface with you, and all validation is in terms of what is validation, so you don't lay on your validators that you want them to do all the work because they're the ones that validate. All validation is are you ready? Send your decision, okay? And there's 3 things they got to look at, the validators. Is the cash flow positive? If you have cash at the end and this is below 0, a lot of cash, then it won't validate. If you have a slider that's at 0, it won't validate. So there's a few things. I'm going to give you each a $2,000 loan to start with. I do that just because I don't want anybody crashing and burn because they run out of money with the first couple of decisions. And you can pay that back or not, but you'll find financial leverage here isn't a big deal. Operating leverage is. This is an operating model, operating and marketing of strategy. The finances, you can have 60% leverage. I don't know what the leverage is here. I don't even know if it shows on this page. Well, you can see their EBIT is pretty good. Red did pretty good on this. I mean, if I showed you Red Decision 1, I won't take the time. You've given your Saturday up already, but you'll see it in the recaps. They just absolutely got destroyed because they spent so much money on HR. Now spend a little on HR, yeah, but just don't overdo the sliders. Just do little incremental starts because the elasticity is huge. Price elasticity demand here is you raise it $3 and demand drops to 0. The elasticity is horrendous, especially on some of the lines, which I won't give away, but you'll see that as you move along here. So where are we at? Let's get out of this. Okay, get out of this. Where are we at? Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Was that helpful?
It was, this is Esther Dixon. It was helpful. This is big, this is large.
Yep.
Uh, it's like, you step into, like, a big mansion, you're looking around and you're like, okay, what's here? This is how I feel. I do have some questions, from the last one. The loan, is the loan to the group or the loan to the individual because we're working as a group? That's one question. And
Very smart. Yep.
yeah, number
Yep.
two, which would be my main thing, you say, don't give out your strategies because others will take it. So my question there, when we send text messages, because it's a group message, so that is just within us, and you mean these text messages, I'm putting all the questions together one time. So when you say text messages, that group text message, the red we have is just us, like you
Yes.
would do any other text message, right?
Yes,
Okay.
on the announcements, I don't have a whole, because I've made mistakes like this before. I don't have an all class text because
Okay.
all the they're only, and that you're very smart. You could teach this class. Yeah, you got to be very careful of that because you don't want to be giving your strategy away and you're talking about all kinds of stuff that you're doing on that. And at the end of the class, none of those the texts on this text site are they're after the fact after we close that universe close. But yeah, so you can freely text with your compatriots. And Yellow Team, we have some ads. I want to make sure it's got the right text in the right text group because Antonio, you registered a little late and we remade your group there. So I want to make sure you're on it. But yeah, in terms of the loan, the you have to. That's a really good question because it shows iteration. When you do your loan, it's corporate. It's for the whole company, but you
Okay.
have to decide on where to spend the money as individuals in the group, and then you get together on your Zoom. You have to validate, or our validator has to validate um, very latest Saturday at noon. But I really appreciate Friday because I got to do a whole weekend of recap work to make the video for you guys Saturday and Sunday. So this won't be till decision three, but that's where your first or decision one, week three, decision one. But yes, the when you do um, get that loan, you have to look at as a team on your Zoom at, oh, the cash is off. We were spending too much here. We've got we've gone over what we can spend, so we have to back off on one of the groups. We can't spend all this money on marketing for image. So let's reduce these sliders. Then you have to adjust it. So the if no one's really ever made this mistake because everybody watches the cash carefully because they can't validate without it. But I do give that loan to everyone and you can pay it back, but that amount of leverage is not a big deal. You should keep that $2,000 really through the whole sim. If you're really way above and done great and you want to increase your EBIT and get retained earnings up, you could drop your leverage. But remember, the thing about leverage and the loans and finances in business is that why would you pay off a loan that costs 8% if you're making 12% on your revenue? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that you wouldn't do that. So
Yeah.
you look at the cost of money, which is pretty much 8% throughout the whole sim. And if you're having retained earnings or you've got good EBIT and even good revenues, you're going to say, hey, I want that leverage because I'm borrowing at 8% and I'm making 12%. So I'm getting 4% arbitrage of doing nothing. So, and also you get punished on your share price if you pay off too much and you have no leverage. The
Mm-hmm.
investors are going to say, why would we invest? It's like GameStop. They
Yeah.
their earnings and their revenues and that kind of stuff are really, oops, they're telling me to, Alexa, stop. It's telling me our sim is over. But yeah, GameStop is a good example. They're investing all their money in Bitcoin and they've got great returns. Everybody's jumping towards them. But if you look at their fundamentals, they have problems with EBIT and revenue, and that's a balloon that's going to pop. So you definitely have to invest where you see it's working. And I'll just give the big hint. Be careful in low cost and image to start. This portfolio starts with family and image, and only towards decision 3, 4, 5 does eco happen. And I'm sad to say this because, I love God's Earth too, but a lot of teams make, you have to have a mission and a strategy, and they make their mission and strategy. The first annex you turn in, which is on the right side there, and you drop it in CLC, is all the sliders. How did you choose? And what's the strategy? I have so many teams that I want to hug and love that say, we want to save the earth, we're putting all our money into eco. And it's really sad because it's a very low growth line to begin with, and you have to make your money off of family and image to start with a sim, and then move the portfolio. It's all Michael Porter straight cows, and other, I'll show you more Porter stuff that I'll post, but it really works that way. It's really like real life business. And so as you do all this stuff, what do you do for the course? You just report on it. You kind of show one of the images, you put a, and if you're low on a Sunday, now the rubrics say, I've got faculty people that watch over me and say, hey, you're being too easy, do this and that. And some of them will grade you or make me change a grade. But usually, because it's a sim, they'll say, if you worked hard, done the sim, do all this stuff, and you're behind on posting for a DQ or something, just make a few, you can do. I shouldn't say this in a video, but if you want to do some on the last few on Sunday, you're supposed to do 3 separate days during the week. 2 times 3 would be 6. But if you get jammed up because of work, kids, all the other courses, everything else, just, do those and put a few sentences. You'll see that in the feedback. And I say this because you're coming up to your first one on tomorrow. So if you haven't done all the posts you'd normally do, just do them. I don't want to see somebody losing, even if it's, 10 points. So, yeah, and you don't have the sim yet to comment on here, but you can comment on a video. Watch one of the videos and then you can comment on it, and that'll be your participation that time. So
Okay.
let us stop the share here.
And then I have a question from the class that let me bring this down. The optional weekly devotional, is that reply an individual or a group?
Everything that you have in this course can be group or individual. It's completely choice of the individual or the group. If you want to respond as an individual, you don't have
Mm-hmm.
to talk to your group about something if it's more work. If it's less work, work with your group. So for a devotional, you can just answer what you want on the
Yes.
devotional, put a couple sentences yourself and you get credit for that. So
Okay.
on the other hand, if it's a deliverable, like you need like 5 slides or something, or 4 slides, let's say, have each of one of you do a slide, put them all together, and post, and have your validator, your CEO, if you want to pick one. You can organize yourself any way you want. I've had teams that have, um, 12, 13 members, others but our partnerships only 2 on a team. Each has to take 2 car lines. So it just depends on, we have 4 member teams here. And so you can each take a car line if you want, but you can also do other roles. You can say, I'll be your CFO, let me crunch numbers, or hey, if you're better at marketing, you want to do this, it's completely self-organizing. I
Okay.
only beg you, please don't let them take it all on. Help them out, jump in and say, no, let me do that. And you'll see in the sim texts, because you're just working for each other. I don't judge that. I'm out of it. When you do your peer reviews and you give each other those points, I do nothing about that. I just go with what you do. I do tell you, if you have a really good team, here's the way to get maximum points. And then that's good. We want to see you working and having fun as a team. So, but yeah, so, and also the other thing, that's another really good question, because towards the end, this isn't right away, but towards the end, the benchmarks, you will see that it says it's benchmarks, but it's also CLC. So you can do that big presentation as a group. You write, let's say it's going to be 3 pages long. You write 1 page all day, or 4 pages. You write this, you write this, and then you will do that. Or you tell us a little about low cost, you tell us about eco, tell us image, and then you just put them all together and turn them in. But you won't turn it into CLC if it's benchmarked. You each have to turn that in then. So I'll be telling you that, and you'll see that. And I'll warn you, if one person turned it in, you can't turn it in for all, but you can on CLC. Like this next week, you'll have to do that. I agree to the form. You don't each have to turn that in. I mean, in the chat, you can say I agree or something, but just text your validator, and the validator can drop it into the box for you. And that's just a practice on how you drop it. Now, there's only 3 annexes this week, 3, 4, and 5. The first one is just a form that shows what sliders did you choose for the first decision. The second one is like competitive strategy. The third one is like customer strategy. So those three, and the forms are on Halo up on the right side under resource, on the right, not the left. And you pull those out, you all agree as a team and you drop it in. So a lot of this stuff is really fast and easy and meant for you to be able to spend your time on the sim and really get into it and get to know it, watch the videos, and study the Biz 485 site so you can see the tricks. And then I'll be showing you these slides. If you say what happened here, I'll show you kind of what happened there, and yeah, kind of everybody else, because I can't give tips to everybody, but do call and text, etc. So, well, we're past our time now, and thanks again so much. You all have 20 points in the bank, so if you want to take a day off, go for it. The way that works, I just credit you, and if you drop something or you missed a DQ or you're late or something, couldn't have it. I can't do that on the peer reviews and on attendance. That's with you guys do that with yourself, but if you have any issues, and talk to your team, because you'll see half those texts are about, I can't make it to this meeting, or can we make it here, make it there. And you're on different time zones too. I have people, not in this class, but many times I have people on active duty in Afghanistan. I have somebody that was in Brazil one time, somebody in London, someone flying around, a pilot. So we try to accommodate each other on the sim, because we didn't do 4 years here of all live classes unless you're in the ground class. So it's kind of above and beyond the call of duty. But since it's the capstone class, it gives an opportunity to do the way education is actually really going, which these sims are just growing like crazies. If there are no other questions, which I don't think there are, thank you for you that used the chats and said. But I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I look forward to working with you. And don't be a stranger. If you didn't get the message that I'm here for you, that's my main message. So thank you, and have a great Saturday and a great Sunday. And Monday we'll start topic 2.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach Jay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.